Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about Emilia Perez. I wanted this video to be very different than the video it's about to be, and I do want to go ahead and apologize. I don't like making negative content on this channel. Typically, if I watch a movie and I think it's bad, I'll only make a video about it if it's bad because the writing or it's a sequel to a movie that was really good and they shouldn't have even bothered making a sequel, or if it's one of the weird Zack Snyder Star Wars movies that he's making on Netflix where you can tell that they're trying to cut out certain parts of it so that we could try to be like, oh my god, give us the director's cut, even though he's fully directing, producing, taking care of this movie. There shouldn't be a bad version of this movie and then a director's cut. It should just be what the movie is. So overall, for me to make a negative video, it takes a lot. And this one is specifically going to be doing it because this movie, for people who do not know, the movie Emilia Perez just got nominated for 13 Oscars. For reference as to how much that is, that's something that only 3 or 4 movies in the history of ever have gotten, and it's on par with movies like Forrest Gump, one of the greatest movies of all time according to IMDb's top 100 list. That's an incredible movie. I just watched Emilia Perez, and I was going to write a list of all of the positive things that I like about it. I've got one thing on my sticky note. This is a movie that got nominated for 13 Oscars, and I can say one good thing about it. And I will say, I do think that the premise is relatively interesting, and I'm going to get into that in a little bit. But what the hell is going on with this movie?
Modded Movie Review.
So for the one good thing that I've written down, Zoe Saldana's acting performance in this movie is actually relatively good. For the most part, when I saw the Golden Globes and I saw that she got nominated for this and that she won an Oscar for it, I was like, okay, maybe I'll actually go back and watch this movie. And for the most part, this movie is pretty unwatchable. Like, it is a really terrible movie. It's a musical, and every single musical sequence actually feels like it is making the movie worse. Every single time there's a scene going on and there's any kind of like momentum going with the movie and the plot and everything seems like, okay, I'm actually starting to get what's going on, there will be a song that just completely takes you out of it. Every single song feels like it's a different genre. Some of them are rap, some of them are like rock and roll, kind of like Queen style songs. Some of them are a lot more slow and soft and somber. And then there are some that are kind of like that rock and roll style that I mentioned, like Queen, with the somber song just kind of like sang at the same exact time, and it's not like mixed well together at all. The music doesn't make any sense for it. All of the songs in this musical are absolutely terrible, and I'm also confused because I think 3 of them got nominated for Best Song of the Year, which is blasphemy, I want to say. Like, I just think that that's absolutely ridiculous. I think that this year in the Oscars, that is one of the like lowest categories, is original song, because last year, 2024, we got not a whole lot of original musicals. We didn't get a lot of songs that were eligible for this because, like, Wicked came out. Every single one of their songs has been written before. It has been created before Mean Girls came out. And once again, all of those songs, none of them are original. They're just reprises of it. And then we had Mufasa at the end of the year, which I think there might be a Mufasa song that got nominated. I'm not entirely sure. Actually, I did not look over the list. But overall, 2024, not a huge year for a new original song, so it makes sense that they'll get at least 1 or 2, but I can say comfortably, I don't think any of the songs in this movie were good. I don't think I would ever want to willingly, purposely listen to any of these songs again. They're atrocious. I think it's just like the only way I can put it. It kind of reminds me of if somebody like saw Hamilton, it was like, oh, we're allowed to do raps and musical, and then they started doing it and they completely miss what one of the interesting parts of Hamilton is, where the raps have a meaning. The reason why certain characters are singing as fast as they are is because they die incredibly young. That's like a very common thing about a lot of the founding fathers, is that they died significantly younger than you would have expected them to. So people like Alexander Hamilton, who are rapping pretty fast, is because his life didn't last very long. And it's like a symbolic thing. It's something that actually has to do with, you know, the artistry. Like, it's something that was a deliberate choice, whereas in here they have people rapping and it doesn't add anything to the movie. It just seems like they were like, we've gone 4 minutes and 27 seconds without a song. This guy, instead of just explaining what's going on right now, he's gonna actually start saying it relatively fast, and we're just gonna put a little beat track in the background. And that's another problem I have with a lot of the songs in this, is that their person is singing, and it's so obvious that like they didn't know what the music was going to be when certain characters are singing. Like the scene that I just mentioned, he's on a train and he's explaining like to Zoe Saldana's character that, like, you know, this person is like a very dangerous man. He works for the cartel or whatever. You probably shouldn't be doing business with them, whatever. And during the sequence, he's like quickly like whispering, like whisper rapping or whatever. And then the beat is just a simple. And it doesn't match the whispering at all. And I'm like, what the hell is even happening here? Like, the music is absolutely atrocious. And like I said, this is a musical. How are you going to have a musical with terrible music? Did not like it. It gave me whiplash every single time a song started. I thought that the choreography for a lot of it actually looked good. I think that the cinematography of the individual shots are interesting, but there'll just be sequences where it's like it starts off and Selena Gomez is like in a bed and she's like tossing around and turning around and she's singing, and then all of a sudden it just randomly goes into like a hard rock and roll song. There's 20 other people around her. She's in a pitch black room. Sorry for the little interruption. I ended up getting a phone call, but I just want to stop talking about the music here. But the last thing I want to kind of leave it with is they did not do a good job of integrating the music well into the movie. It didn't feel like something that was designed to be a musical. Like if you had told me that this was just like a regular telenovela or whatever, and they decided halfway through production that they're like, we're actually going to make this musical, and they had to go back and refilm some of the dance numbers and some of the musical sequences, I would 100% believe that. Like this movie feels like a giant telenovela, and if you rip out every single song of this movie, I probably would have actually enjoyed it a lot more. I think that the overall story that they're trying to convey is a relatively interesting one. I do think that the big twist in this movie doesn't get revealed until way later in the movie than it probably should. And I think that overall, there's just a lot of character moments that you don't understand and you can't relate to and you can't like understand what's going on because they're just so quick to be like, oh, here's a song number. Oh, here's a dance number. Oh, here's a music number. And they're trying to tell this intricate story without giving this story time to breathe, and it's not letting you have this connection with the characters because the character just randomly started singing and doing a giant musical number with 70 other people when they were just laying in a bed 2 seconds ago, and we still don't understand the concept of like, okay, so like the songs, obviously it's probably a dream sequence, but like what is the dream? You know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense. A lot of this just feels like very underdeveloped. It doesn't feel like a very thought out story. And all of the musical aspects of it genuinely just completely ruined a movie that I thought could have been interesting. That being said, like I said, Zoe Saldana's acting in it was incredible. I think that Selena Gomez has a couple of moments in here that are good. I definitely don't think they're good enough for her to be nominated for an Oscar for it. The actress that actually plays Emilia Perez, I don't think so. And I'm actually really scared to say this. I am afraid that part of the reason why she's getting nominated is because it's a trans woman character, and this is a actress who I don't know if the actress is trans or if she just portrayed transgender character incredibly well. But I'm scared that it's just kind of the Oscars way of being like, hold up, this is a movie about somebody who's transgender. We have to give this a bunch of awards because people are going to be like, yeah, let's go. They're representing, so and so and what's it called. But my problem with that theory is the movie Queer came out and I don't think it got a single nomination. And for people who do not know the movie Queer, the director is the same director who did Challengers, and both of those movies were relatively good. So I feel like probably should have gotten a little bit of recognition. And also, Daniel Craig in the movie Queer was somebody who a lot of people were expecting to be in the discussion for Best Actor, and he wasn't on the list. So I don't want to be like, okay, this movie might have gotten some of the stuff that it got because they're trying to, be like, yay, trans rights, and yay this, and yay that. But also, I genuinely can't think of any other reason why this would potentially be getting one. Obviously, one of the main things, if Netflix has a movie that wins 13 Oscars, it's going to kind of justify the whole like fact that they keep raising their prices and raising their prices and raising their prices. And I think a big thing about it is that ultimately Netflix wants this to look good. People want to look at this results or whatever and see, oh my god, Netflix is actually a really good streaming service. Maybe we should go check it out more. And personally, I think that that's really sketchy. I do think that there's a decent chance that maybe somebody who works at Netflix paid off the Academy to give this movie rewards. Now, obviously, I'm not going to say it. That's like a definitive thing. I'm going to say allegedly. That's something that could have potentially happened. Do I think it did? No, but I don't think it's against the realm of possibilities because when you watch a movie that's like this, and you can't name more than one good thing about it, it's a little bit of a problem. So overall, I think that there was definitely elements of this movie that I could have enjoyed. Like I said, if they just made this a regular telenovela and it just straight up was the story, I think the story is incredibly interesting. For people who don't know the story because you didn't feel like watching the movie, I can quickly give you a rundown of it. There is a lawyer who is I blanked on her name for a second. Zoe Saldana's character, she's a lawyer. She thinks that she's very underappreciated. She's doing a bunch of different trials. She's working her ass off day in and day out, and she just wants like kind of her big break. And eventually, she has this trial where she's successful, and she ends up, getting a lot of success. And then she gets a sketchy email from somebody being like, "Hey, you're a really good lawyer. Can you help me out with something?" And then the email ends up being from somebody who's the leader of a cartel, and the person who's the leader of the cartel really just feels like they want they want to do something different with their life. They want to completely change their life. So they want to fake their death and become transgender, and they want to completely change who they are as a person. And they need Zoe Saldana's character to help them out with that. And essentially, Zoe Saldana helps them out with it. They take him to a place, I think it was Bangkok, where they're able to get this transgender surgery. And then they go back to Mexico and kind of become like more of a philanthropist and doing a lot of things and kind of righting a lot of their wrongs. And during this time period or whatever, Emilia Perez goes back to, their life of doing whatever, where they're, like I said, being a philanthropist, being a better person. And then Zoe Saldana's character goes back to being a lawyer, wherever they are. And they run into Selena Gomez's character, and Selena Gomez's character needs help fleeing the country. And Zoe Saldana's like, wait, I have a favor from my friend who's a philanthropist. Let me see if I can potentially, help you move back over there and you can be safe and everything's going to be great. And so they go, they do that. And then Selena Gomez's character ends up going and living with Emilia Perez for a while. Selena Gomez's character has this whole side plot with the fact that she's hooking up with some guy that's like a big enemy of the cartel and somebody who Emilia Perez, back when they were a man, had a lot of conflicts with. And it gets revealed towards the end of the movie that they were able to discover that it was still Emilia Perez was still the cartel person who they were originally. It creates a lot of gang violence, a lot of bad things happen, and throughout this course of this movie, Selena Gomez's character is a mother, and she's a single mother, and she has this kid, and the kid picks up on the fact that Emilia Perez is actually their dad, and Emilia Perez and Selena Gomez's character get into a giant argument about like, oh my god, I want this thing, and oh my god, I want my kid, and oh my god, this and that, and this and that. And Selena Gomez's character is constantly arguing that it's not your kid, and then they realize at the end of the movie, oh my god, that's the guy, that's the dad. That's oh my god. And it's a really cool twist. And like I said, had it happened 30 minutes before the movie ended, I probably would have loved it. It happens in the last like 10 minutes, and then all of the characters die in a fire. That's not even an exaggeration. They get into a car accident, they all die in a fire. What's the point of that? It's a terrible ending. It's a god awful ending to a movie that was god awful. I hated it. This movie was genuinely really bad, and I'm so mad because I was like, I'm gonna do the right thing here. I'm gonna watch this movie. I'm gonna be like, hey, here's these like 10 things that they did right. They got one thing right, and it was casting Zoe Saldana. That's ah. And to just kind of put into perspective how like much of like a cop out that is, Zoe Saldana, financially speaking, like is the most successful actress in all of Hollywood. She's been in like 5 movies that have made $1 billion, something like that. So that being said, I'm just gonna go ahead and leave this video here. If I was to give this movie a movie rating, if I was to give this movie a number rating on a scale of 1 to 100, I probably would give it like a 31. Like I said, Zoe Saldana's acting really made this watchable, so I was at least able to watch through the entire thing. There are a couple of moments of the songs, like that's my thing. Some of the songs, there were parts of it that were genuinely good, and it's like sucks because it's like it's really good, and then it would switch genres halfway through the song, and I'm like, see, I was liking that, and then you did that, and now I'm not liking that. What's going on there? So that kind of sucked. And like I said, I think that some of the choreography and the dance sequences and everything were great. I just think that they were all meaningless, which made it not as enjoyable. But somebody out there somewhere choreographed these dance sequences, and I do think they deserve credit. They were pretty good. They were very interesting. They were visually appealing, and I think that there's some cool camera work that is done with a lot of the musical numbers as well. But that being said, the overall plot sucks. The pacing is absolutely terrible. I just could not get on board with this movie. But yeah, that being said, that was it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming by checking it out. I love and appreciate you guys so much for watching. And if you liked it, feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Bow, bow, bow.